Today we're going to disassemble and clean the magazine of a Sig Sauer Mosquito 22 long rifle pistol. Every so often you want to disassemble your magazines and clean them out, especially if you've dropped one of these in the dirt or gravel, or if you just put a lot of rounds through it, you want to open it up and clean it out to make sure it's not going to fail on you. So it's a real simple procedure. The bottom base plate comes off. You just need to press in this little button with a pin punch or a small tool, and at the same time push the base plate this way. So that looks just like this. And you must keep your thumb over top here because there's a spring under there. Pull that off, and then this spring comes loose. If you don't have your thumb there, that spring might come up and hit you in the face. Alright, when you pull the spring out, you'll notice this little insert on the bottom here. It just sits there. It's got the little nub on one side that you just push. The other side allows that to sit nicely right in the spring like that. Alright, so take that piece out, and then simply pull the spring out. And then the follower here is not going to come out until you take this all the way down to the bottom here and then pull this pin out through the bottom. There's a little hole there. It's a little bit bigger, allows that to come out, and then your follower will fall out. At this point, we just want to clean each of the pieces. If they're not really dirty, you can just take a cotton cloth. This is just a cut up t-shirt. Just wipe each piece real good. If there's a lot of buildup on here, you might want to get a little bit of solvent. This is Hops number 9. That's just a general gun solvent that I use. This is optional, but really convenient. I keep my Hops number 9 solvent in this pump dispenser here. And what that does is when you open it up, you just press the top here and it pumps up just a little bit at a time for your use. And it keeps the rest of it down here from getting contaminated with all the oil and crud that you're going to be getting on your cotton swabs or rags. Just get a little bit of solvent and get it in there with the cotton swab, and then wipe it out. Get the solvent removed, the solvent and all the dirt out of there. Just get each one of these pieces kind of clean. You should use nitrile gloves to do this. I'm not right now just because of the camera work. I don't want to get crud on my camera, so I'm going to wipe my fingers off before I touch the camera. You get a little solvent on a rag and just run the spring around that rag. Good way to get the whole spring real nice and clean. Wipe all the way up to the end of the spring, and then get a dry cloth to wipe all the solvent off. Get your follower. Again, a little tiny bit of solvent on there. Get that nice and clean, and then wipe all that solvent off. Real simple stuff. You just want to get everything wiped down and clean. Cotton swab through that hole right there. This piece as well. This piece does not seem to be dirty at all. Alright, now we have the magazine tube. To get the inside of this clean, you are going to need a longer cotton swab. I would just get a cotton swab with a wooden handle like this one that's long enough to get through here. Again, a little bit of solvent, and then just clean it from one end or the other, and then clean it from both sides. Make sure you get underneath the feed lips here in the top. That's probably going to be the dirtiest part of the magazine, where your rounds are actually extracted from right there. And then get all that solvent cleaned up with a dry end of your cotton swab. Other thing that can work is get a cotton cloth and just kind of use your cotton swab and shove that down in there. That'll clean up the inside real nice and quick. And just push that through a few times. That does a nice job. Don't have to use cotton swab. Anything else that'll fit. After you're done cleaning the inside, just wipe down the outside. Again, if it's real dirty, you can use solvent. This one's not too bad. Down good here. Alright, now we want to put things back together. So I'm going to hold this. The front of this magazine has the rounded part right here, the rounded part up here. So we're going to hold it this way, and the rounded part of this lines up with the rounded part here, and slide that in. You just want that in far enough to line up that hole with the bottom of the hole in the tube right here. Just line it up like that, and then take your pin, drop that through till it's flat, and then push it up to the top. Should look like that and line up that way. Alright, and once your follower is in there, the spring should go in with the ends kind of at the same angle. So if you look at the bottom, that one's at a little bit of an angle like that. So this is how I'm putting it in. You can see how that sits, and just slide it in the bottom. Alright, and then pop this piece back onto the bottom of the spring like that, and then carefully, with eye protection on, push this down into the bottom of the magazine a little bit. Put your thumb over top there, and get your base plate and line up the slots in the base plate with the ridges here on the bottom, just like that. And you should be able to slide it in about that far, and then you need to push this piece down just a little bit to get the base plate over top of it, and then it should pop in just like that. And just make sure you can't pull that back off. Alright, and you're good to go. The top of the magazine should look like this. You should still be able to grab this piece here on both sides and run the follower up and down with ease without running into any hang-ups there. Alright, now that your magazine's back together, you can take it to the range and put a few rounds in there and test it out that way. If you want to test it out right away, you can get some A-Zoom long rifle snap caps or dummy rounds. These are fake ammunition. These are just pieces of aluminum. They have no gunpowder in them at all. They're for safely testing your firearm and magazines like I'm about to do. So I get about 5 of these dummy rounds and put them in the magazine. And once I get 5 rounds into the magazine, I'll get my Mosquito and make sure it's completely unloaded, and then I'll put my magazine with the fake rounds in it. And what we've done is loaded a dummy round into the firearm. So what we're just going to do here is we're going to test the proper feeding of the magazine. We're going to simulate firing the weapon just by racking the slide briskly, and each time I rack the slide, one of these dummy rounds should be extracted and ejected and thrown out of the gun. So we're going to try that, and if it's successful, it shows us that everything is working properly. So I just take the gun like that, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the slide locks back on an empty magazine as it should, and now I've got 5 dummy rounds on the floor here that I need to pick up, but everything is working properly. Alright, if you found this video helpful, please hit like below. Please check out the description for links to all the supplies and items we used here in the video, and thanks so much for watching.